then it is something that man was not meant to disturb. Trust me.
Are you making this up as you go along?
Yeah?
Don't believe me. You will, Dr. Jones.
Mission accomplished. Full throttle.
No break. Those people are trying to kill us.
I know, Dad!
It's a new experience for me. Happens to me all the time.
Welcome back to another installment of our watch-throughs and reviews of Young Indiana Jones, chapter by chapter, as we make our way through the three of the Indiana Jones movies, because there's only 3 of them. 3?
Not 4, not 5.
Not 4. 3. Anyway.
1, 2, 5.
We are on our way. There are 3 lights. We're on our way to The Last Crusade coming up at the end of this year. But right now, what chapter and what chapter of the Indiana Jones Chronicles are we at, Paul?
This time we are watching, we are reviewing chapter 13 called Adventures in the Secret Service. This was actually a combination of 2 different chapters which earlier aired, combining the first episode of season 2, which was titled Austria March 1917, which came out September 21 in 1992. And the 13th episode in season 2, later on called Petrograd July 1917, which was released March 27th in 1993.
Well, very good, Paul.
Do you want to give us the plot synopsis?
I'll give you the plot
both
synopsis.
Episodes using 1 sentence each.
I'm going to do 1 sentence for both.
Oh, wow.
Indy can't catch a break as a spy. He fails at every turn, apparently. Even though I think he does a pretty good job.
What are we going to do with you?
Right?
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
Essentially, the first half.
Which is sad because Indy's dad is James Bond. I'm just saying.
Right. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. The first half, he's in Austria trying to help, trying to get the Austrian king to be a part of the Allies. I don't think they're the Allies in World War I, but
he was signing a treaty so that they were no longer going to be allies with the Germans, I believe,
something like that.
in order to end the war.
Yeah, and then in the second part,
because you know what you need in an Indiana Jones adventure? Lots of politics. Apparently, this was George Lucas's warm up to the prequels.
Yeah.
Calm down, Jimmy. I know Phantom Menace triggers you. Okay.
Wow.
You said it.
But that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
It's very good.
And then the second half, Indy's in Russia during the revolution, or what's going to become the revolution.
Bolshevik Revolution.
Bolshevik Revolution, as the Lenin trying to gain power. And he fails there too, apparently. So let's talk about the things.
You can't stop history. Come on, George. What are you, Tarantino?
Let's talk about, first off, what's the best part of these episodes. Let's start with Nathan. What's the thing you like most about these?
Okay. Just to let everybody know, I absolutely love Indiana Jones.
Okay. And have you ever seen these before?
I have seen some of them. I have not seen this one. Okay. So this was a first for me when I saw it. But like I said, I have recollections. I was actually there was a point when my local library actually had the entire DVD collection of these, and I was trying to go through all of them, but I never finished it, unfortunately. Oh. I don't remember what prevented me from doing that, but regardless, going into this, I will say first off, it was cool seeing Indiana Jones having not archaeology related adventures.
Oh, okay.
When I know some of them are like that. These weren't. I will also say the first half was definitely more exciting. Where it's actually, involves going behind enemy lines and sneaking around.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some political stuff in the middle there, but then we got to sneak back across the border. And then there's actually this climax. It's basically a border crossing. It's kind of hilarious where he's like, all I have to do is cross the line, man. All I have to do is cross the line. And he's running across the train and he's getting shot at. So there's exciting things happening. Yeah. You get none of that in the second one.
That's true. Yeah.
It's a lot of talking, a lot of drama, a lot of this woman hitting on Indiana Jones, and all I kept thinking was, lady, you're not Marion. Don't even bother.
Which I thought she looked a little bit like her, and I thought they were going to try to set.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Marion is not a commie, all right?
Well, yeah.
Well, she...
Was she though? I don't think she was.
No, she's out. I was about to say she's out in the Eastern world compared to us living in the Western world. I forget where though. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, she's in Tibet. Are we talking about Marion? Isn't Marion in Nepal or Tibet?
Somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know.
But that was just at that point. That was only at that point. We don't know what she was doing before that.
That's true. She could be in
fair point. Anywhere, regardless. But you liked the sort of the excitement and that he wasn't doing archaeology in these episodes.
Yeah.
Or at least the excitement in the
excitement in the first half.
Yeah. I do kind of like that he was, even though the second half wasn't exciting, I do like that he was doing sort of cryptography, which I was like, Indy doesn't do this. Oh, wait, he does that in Last Crusade. He's like figuring out all these clues and stuff. So never mind.
I was about to say.
Although I have to,
with an I.
Yeah. Although I have to admit, I was a little bit confused when this thing started because I'm like, was there something that carried over from the previous one? Because I don't understand the context of what's going on. Why is he in France? What is he doing here? I had to piece it together because I'm like, I feel like I missed something. But looking into it a little bit, I can't tell if there was anything that would have given me any sort of context.
Not really. I mean,
I was about to say yes, but not satisfying.
Yeah. not like to where it's like, oh, now I get why he's doing all these things. No.
And then it was also confusing because all of these French guys and the Austrians that he was trying to escort never call him Indy or Mr. Jones or anything like that. That's using a different name, and I'm like, what is going on? I am confused here.
And then they called another guy Henry, like Henry, and it was another guy spoke up. And I'm like,
just, what is going on? Now, I will say another reason I liked the first half more is because it had Christopher Lee in it, which I was not expecting.
I wasn't expecting that. I saw his name in the credits. I'm like, really? Christopher Lee? Wow, okay.
Yeah, and that brought a cinematic caliber to this.
Yes.
To this. And that's the thing that's really interesting. From what I understand, the show, this Young Indiana Jones show, was pretty popular, but it ended up getting canceled relatively quickly because it was really expensive to produce because they're filming on location.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. But you can definitely tell they threw that money onto the screen with this. This is the most cinematic looking 90s television show I think I've ever seen. Yeah, now we take it for granted now because TV is basically made like movies, but nowadays. But back then you didn't see stuff like this. This felt like a movie. I will say that. It felt like a movie. It really did. And including Christopher Lee, I think brought some of that, like cinematic gravitas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what made this show look even more cinematic? Was watching it at 2x speed. But we'll maybe talk about that.
Oh, no.
I was wondering if you were still doing that.
You cheater. You went back.
I know. Okay, Paul, what's something you liked about Young Indiana Jones?
In this episode, this chapter, I really enjoyed the mystery. Like, okay, who can you trust and who can't you? And even on both episodes, it was like, oh, and what are they? The sneaking around trying to figure out puzzle solving aspect. I also liked that there was a swing at the end of the second one there was a swing, and they introed the Young Indiana Jones music. It wasn't the John Williams Indiana Jones music that we love, but at least they incorporated the theme of the Young Indiana Jones into it, which was nice.
Yes, that was. For me, the thing I liked most about it was, it's weird, but I kind of like that it ended on this very dour note with the after the Cossack
getting
shot.
Yeah, I'm like, because
now, and here's
that's
something
more like history, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, because I looked up the timetable on this. This movie, well, that half of the movie takes place in July 1917. The Bolshevik Revolution was in November that year. So it's kind of funny if you know your history when they're saying like, oh, this isn't going to happen. This probably won't happen now. And I'm like,
it was the beginning of the revolution.
It was the beginning of it.
It didn't quite take it, so that makes sense that it happened a few months before then. So that's cool.
Yeah, well, here's the thing that I will admit, the ending of that second episode I actually did think was pretty effective. Because the question that came to my mind was, because this episode, it's probably more apt to call it an episode, wants you to be sympathetic toward these people. But the question I was asking myself is, are we to sympathize with them because they're revolutionaries or because they were fools and tried to start their revolution too soon?
Or his friends. So maybe it's a mixture of all of them.
I feel like because it's friends, but...
Yeah, because see, that's the thing that I was once I realized, okay, we're gonna be going to Russia, 1917. We're gonna actually have Lenin in this, and I'm like, this is going to be really interesting to see what their attitude is about this, because I don't think it's not pro-communist for sure. You get the impression that Lenin is making a bunch of promises. Yeah, you get the impression Lenin's making a bunch of promises that we, knowing history, know are not going to come about.
Right.
So there's that level of tragedy here, and Indy doesn't seem to be very happy about it because he's a good American.
But what I thought they did was a great job of showing to us on the Western side, how can someone, Vladimir Lenin lead a nation of people in this direction? Why would they follow him? But I thought they did a great job of showing how charismatic and persuasive he could be using those ideals.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and you could totally see how everyone in the audience and stuff was captured by what he was saying, and it's one of those things that I almost wish there was more time to like go into the philosophies of it, because on its face, communism has so much of it. Seems right, it sounds right, it seems like if everyone could just. It'd be great for everyone.
Society,
exactly.
Yes.
But it totally forgets to look at the heart of man and how we are. What's the verse? Our hearts are deceived.
The heart is deceptively wicked, or something like that. Yeah. It's in Isaiah.
Yeah. Okay. Excuse me.
Or is that Isaiah? Or no, wait, now I'm thinking it's either Isaiah or Jeremiah. Now I can't remember.
Okay, we're not.
It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible.
I'm gonna look it up because now.
Which is interesting that you bring that up, because there's a conversation. I actually really like this scene, as unexciting as that episode was by comparison. The scene where the revolutionary girl and this other guy are talking, and she's talking about all of these communist ideals that she's been hearing from Lenin, and this guy's arguing. He's like, you can't, people like H.G. Wells and all these authors and all that, they're advocating for creating paradise on earth. He said, you can't do that. That's the domain of God. That it exists only in heaven and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad that they had that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a throwaway line, but yes.
Well, yeah, kind of, but it offers a counterpoint to what she's talking about. And I think that's another one of those reasons why I don't think this episode necessarily comes out as pro-communist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because there are characters who don't like it, and like Indy. I mean, come on, what a buzzkill is it to be taken on a date on your birthday to a communist rally? I mean, he was clearly not having a good time.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. It was trying to make more of this, because something like this, especially when you're an American, you can easily just distill it down to that it's robbed of any substance. This is the rise of the Soviet Union, and as Americans, we're not supposed to like it. But as we're seeing in this, there was a lot going on.
Yeah, and I feel like it's good to sympathize with people. Like when you just see communism as like a group of people, it's very easy to be tribalistic and be like, well, ours way is better than your ways. But if you can drill it down to an actual person, you can become much more sympathetic, and it becomes much more tragic in that regard too, I think. Also,
Hitler, Nazis.
Also, Jeremiah 17:9. It was the verse you got right, Nathan. Yeah, the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? And that is the NIV version. Wow. Anyway, so I think we all went through the things we liked about this. What didn't we like about this episode, this chapter of Young Indiana Jones? And Nathan, let's start with you again.
I've kind of already mentioned it. The second half of this is not very exciting.
But you just said that one moment was great.
Well, yeah, there's great moments in it. It's just not very exciting. I mean, the first one is an actual adventure, and then this one is I'm trying to be a spy and I'm checking things out, but I'm not really
As slow and boring as the second part is compared to the first one, I actually had more problems with the first one than the second one.
Really? Oh, interesting.
And the fact, like, hey, everybody, okay, you two, remember, we have to pretend like we don't know each other, and then what do? They just huddle around talking to each other, like,
okay. Here's something I want to bring up, because I wrote this down in my notes because I thought, I think I know how this is going to happen. So then it kind of makes this one scene just like, then why did this happen? But that scene when they're riding in the train and they're crossing into Austria and they get stopped at the border, and Indy Sims like, hey, make sure you play it cool and all of that.
Yeah, and what do? They line up right next behind each other.
Yeah. Well, and then one of those brothers gets arrested, basically. Yeah. And then his other brother is like, oh, we have to save him, and he's like, nope, we can't. We just got to go. Right. We just got to go. And then he's trying to tell us like, hey,
get on the train.
Yeah, get on the train. And he's all like, we're just gonna have to accept the fact that we don't know what's gonna happen to your brother and all that. And then he just walks back in and he's like, hey, they thought I was someone else. I really seriously thought that was foreshadowing that this guy stabbed them in the back and it was going to come back later.
That would have been so much
I really thought, because I'm like, if they're acting like these guys are going to take him away, and there's no way that they wouldn't be taking him away unless they were really suspicious. Indy even made it sound like, it's like, you know what the difference is between what was it, like the Austrians and other people's, like they just shoot you, and stuff like that. And then so it's like all this buildup, and then nothing's like, okay,
that's what
he's in
like
cahoots with them.
It's like who can you trust and who can you can't trust? That train took off and all of a sudden he's on it. Like, how did he quickly get out of that? Like, get on his papers, But I thought the same thing. I thought, he's in cahoots with the bad guys. You can't trust him. Now, can you trust the brother? And then there's this other woman. Oh, she's like, I knew that was a fake out. Like, that's gotta be. But I didn't. I thought their person contact was going to be another woman, not that woman. But that was funny.
That made me laugh a little bit. Schultz. I thought of Hogan's Heroes, and actually my college dorm. I stayed in a dorm called Schultz Hall. So
there you go. Also, I didn't like there were so many gunshots. Mostly in the first episode that
missed
doesn't get hit.
Stormtrooper camp. These people are going to.
Yeah,
I was gonna say this is a George Lucas property.
Which I will say I did like. There were a couple lines. They've been doing this in past couple chapters. Well, they'll throw in. I have a bad feeling.
Yes.
About this. They'll come.
What an incredible new smell you discovered.
That was another Star Wars line that they incorporated in this one. Which
but can someone tell me? The villain that we kept seeing, he never talks. And all of that. Can someone tell me what was going on with him? I just wrote down in my notes, who the heck is evil Winston Churchill?
No. This is so here's his backstory, guys. He got tired of making skates for Emilio Estevez. He's like, I gotta get out of here. And I gotta go over to Austria and run a criminal organization. But before that, he actually ran a criminal organization, Lethal Weapon 2. But we forget about that.
So what you're saying is this poor actor has been typecast as a villain for his entire career.
Well, not
Got
in
it.
Mighty Ducks, but and was he a villain in Hunt for Red October? I thought he was.
No, yeah, he wasn't that. He was the ambassador for for Russia to the United States.
Yeah, but he was the main villain in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So maybe in the
was
future,
he?
in the
I
end,
forgot
yeah,
that.
he was the main.
So he
guy.
is diplomat.
Yeah.
He is diplomat for Mother Russia.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Which
But
is funny that
anyway,
he's in
that's
the
what's
Austrian
going on
movie.
with him.
Yes. Anyway, so we're dislikes, I think.
Oh yeah. So speaking of getting shot, I thought at the end of the very last, his friend gets shot, but they don't shoot him going to try to rescue his friend. I mean, like,
Hey,
come on, why'd
bullets
they stop
miss him.
shooting at the crowd?
Bullets miss
That
him.
is you know why? Two things:
They have to keep the show going.
main character immunity and drama. That's
Okay. It's part of his contract.
or if you prefer plot armor, you can have main character
There you
immunity
go.
or
I like
plot
that.
armor.
You know what?
One or
This
the
makes me appreciate the time that the young boy Indy got so sick he almost died. I mean,
That's
that
a
was
good point.
close.
Yeah, that was close. That was close. So he has had brushes with death for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like plot armor. That's pretty good. Well, and for me, the thing that I guess I just really didn't like was I felt like Christopher Lee was underutilized. We were mentioning earlier how
that
it was so
but
cool.
it was nice.
Well,
the way he was in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. This was before Christopher Lee became a huge star again.
Oh, okay.
At this point, because Lord of the Rings catapulted him. That was a huge shot in the arm for him in terms of his acting career. And the guy was what, like in his 60s already at that point?
Oh,
he had been acting since at least the 70s, and he was he was known to people who are fans of horror movies, not because he played Dracula in a bunch of movies back in the at least the 70s. I could be wrong. I haven't seen a whole lot of them. But so he was known, but Lord of the Rings catapulted him. So this is pre-Lord of the Rings and Christopher Lee.
Dooku.
Which is hilarious because they said he played his character as a count.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
It made me laugh.
Wow. If you want to, what's funny is you mentioned since we're on the topic of Christopher Lee, he was, and I think I made mention. I forget if this was in Edna Mode or not. So my apologies if it was. But I watch riff tracks every so often when I'm just like want something on for a little bit. And he's actually in this old black and white movie that comes up on riff tracks every so often. They have like a random rotation. And I'm trying to find the name of it. But he plays like the head of this coven of witches. I mean, spoilers. He's the head of it, but you don't know that right off the bat. But
just look at him. You can tell.
Right? Oh,
how do you think he got the role of Sauron?
So it's called The City of the Dead in 1960, and he's a professor in that. So in 1960, I don't know how old he was, but at least in his 30s, if not 40s. So he's by the 2000s, he's I'm sure really high up there, 80s maybe. But anyway.
Someone in the chat just pointed out that he was also the man with the golden gun. So
is that a James Bond?
That's a James Bond film.
Okay,
so yes,
okay. Well,
it was a Roger Moore James Bond film.
Okay. Anyway, so all that to say, that's a good point, Nathan. That his star was waning maybe at this point. He was sort of like in a doldrum of his career, but still, I guess I felt like he was. It's hard for me to feel like
it's a small role that he elevated greatly.
That's true.
He did.
That's fine. Fine, guys, with your logic
just like
and
with
stuff.
Christopher Lee. I'm sorry I don't like him, but
Oh, Ray Will, thank you. Christopher Lee's first film credit was 1948. Wow, that's
took a long
crazy. Oh my gosh,
to get to Lord of the Rings.
Wow. Well, it's a long walk to Mordor, Paul.
Yes.
I don't know why I called you Paul.
That's why he
but
teamed up with Saruman.
wow,
Sauron.
he
was
sakes. Any
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
way. Okay, so those are the things we liked, disliked about this chapter of Young Indiana Jones. So, given this episode, would you be interested in seeing the next one, or would you be like, no, I'm not going to watch anymore? Nathan, what's your vote?
I am actually really curious. I kind of want to go back and revisit the ones that I remember seeing when I was younger. And like I said, Indiana Jones is basically my favorite action hero, so I want to see more of it. And I would like to. The completionist in me is kind of kicking in. It's so much so that I actually did look up the DVDs for this thing because all of them have been released on DVD.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Okay. Nice. Paul, how about you? Would you want to continue watching if you weren't commissioned to do that? Or would you be like,
wait, someone's paying me?
Contractually obligated?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Based on this episode alone, I thought the spy stuff was interesting enough, intriguing enough. I would want to see where it goes from here.
Okay.
So I would be interested.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I'm very interested to see. I'd be interested if he like stays in Russia and what happens there. I also wish that we had seen that Russian girl when he was a young kid come back and like them like rekindle something.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a nice like touch point to like, oh, hey, you've been watching this kind of slow show for so long. That would have
been
Let's
a great
reward you.
two-parter from back in the, back when they originally aired it.
Yes, exactly. So all these missed opportunities we're having with this, but regardless, okay. So we all sound like we'd be interested to keep watching. So this was a pretty good one on the whole.
Or I'm getting numb to it. I'm getting used to it.
I don't know. I'm a frog. I don't know I'm in this boiling pot of water.
The Stockholm syndrome is setting in right now.
Yeah, It's not too bad in here now. I'm a frog in water.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for listening to this one. And we'll be back in another month for chapter 14 of Young Indiana Jones. Until next time, whip-paw!